You're driving down a deserted road, the GPS leads you further into the darkness, and suddenly, you stumble upon a crime scene. The police are already there, but something doesn't feel right. The victim, a young woman, lies lifeless on the ground, and the only clue is a small piece of paper near her hand with a cryptic message. This is just the beginning of a terrifying journey into the mind of a serial killer. As you step out of your car, the chill of the night air hits you, and the only sound you can hear is the distant hum of the highway. The police are surrounding the area, their flashlights casting an eerie glow on the trees. You notice the victim, a young woman in her early 20s, lying on the ground, her eyes frozen in a permanent stare. The officer in charge approaches you, his face solemn, and begins to explain the situation. The woman was found just a few hours ago, and the only clue is a small piece of paper near her hand with a cryptic message that reads, "You'll never catch me." The investigation is just beginning, but one thing is certain, this is not an isolated incident. There have been similar cases in the area, all with the same modus operandi, and the police are starting to suspect that they might be dealing with a serial killer. As the investigation unfolds, you find yourself at the police station, poring over the evidence, trying to make sense of the cryptic message. The detectives are working around the clock, following every lead, every tip, but the killer seems to always be one step ahead. You start to notice a pattern, a small symbol etched into the bark of the trees near each crime scene. It's a subtle clue, but it might just be the break they need. The symbol seems to match an ancient language, one that only a handful of people can decipher. The police bring in an expert, a professor of ancient languages, who begins to unravel the meaning behind the symbol. It's a warning, a message from the killer, stating that he will never be caught, that he is always one step ahead. But the professor notices something else, a small inconsistency in the symbol, a mistake that might just lead them to the killer. You're now part of the investigation team, working tirelessly to follow every lead, every tip. The police are canvassing the area, talking to witnesses, trying to gather as much information as possible. You're reviewing the evidence, looking for any inconsistencies, any clues that might have been missed. The symbol is the key, but it's not the only clue. The killer has left a trail of breadcrumbs, a series of subtle hints that only a meticulous investigator can notice. You start to notice a pattern in the victims' lives, a connection that might just lead you to the killer. They all worked at the same company, a large corporation with a reputation for being ruthless. The police bring in the CEO for questioning, but he seems cooperative, almost too cooperative. You start to wonder if he's hiding something, if he might be involved in the killings. As you're questioning the CEO, you receive a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end is distorted, but the message is clear: look closer at the victims. You start to review the evidence again, looking for any connections between the victims. That's when you notice it, a small tattoo on each of their wrists, a symbol that matches the one found at the crime scenes. The victims were not just random targets, they were part of a larger scheme. The killer is not just a serial killer, but a mastermind, using the murders to cover up a larger crime. You start to investigate the company, looking for any evidence of wrongdoing. That's when you stumble upon a dark secret, a secret that could bring down the entire corporation. The news of the serial killer's arrest sends shockwaves through the community. The victims' families are finally able to find some closure, but the investigation is far from over. The police are still working to unravel the motives behind the killings, to understand what drove the killer to commit such heinous crimes. You're part of the team that's tasked with interviewing the killer, trying to get inside his mind, to understand what makes him tick. The killer is calm, collected, and seemingly remorseless. He's willing to talk, but only on his own terms. He starts to reveal a twisted game, a game of cat and mouse, where the victims were mere pawns. The killer's goal was not just to kill, but to leave a trail of clues, to challenge the police, to see if they could catch him. The investigation is finally over, the killer is behind bars, and the community can start to heal. But the question remains, how many lives were lost to this monster? The police are still working to identify all the victims, to notify their families, and to bring closure to those who were affected. You're left to wonder, what drove the killer to commit such heinous crimes? Was it a desire for fame, for notoriety, or was it something deeper, something more sinister? The killer's motives may never be fully understood, but one thing is certain, the impact of his crimes will be felt for years to come. The community will never be the same, and the families of the victims will never forget the terror they faced. As you reflect on the case, you can't help but wonder, what other secrets are hiding in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered? As you finish watching this video, you're left with a haunting question, what other secrets are hiding in the shadows? Take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe, and share your theory on what drove the killer to commit such heinous crimes. Join the conversation, and let's work together to uncover the truth. But be warned, the truth is not always what it seems, and the darkness that lurks in the shadows may be closer than you think.